I don't think I've had like a huge break since then. And of course, like this is kind of the last weekend before I go to India, um, for a wedding. So it's like, yeah, I would just rather, yeah, take a break. I don't think I've had like a
Let's
huge
see.
break since then.
Well, that sounds good. I hope you do get like a time to relax. See, relaxing
Exactly, yeah.
is my number one thing on the weekend. Yes, West Winder, it's good to take those breaks.
I
Okay, so
agree.
let me just make a call. Farcaster Frames workshop is starting on 1, 2. Alrighty. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we'll give it about 1 more minute. I'll make more calls to the community. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna tag everyone on our Discord.
Yeah, I definitely will definitely show a lot about Forecaster itself, but also the coding side, how to use Forecaster Frame. So I'm also stoked that everyone is here too.
Um, okay, so I'm actually gonna make a call to our team as well, because I know that there were some of our teammates that were interested. All right. So I guess while we wait for more people to come in, yeah, just welcome everybody. It's great to have you again. We're actually going to be having a lot of workshops for March, just a lot of alchemists and alchemist OGs sharing their wisdom and knowledge, which is great. So some of you might be familiar with Jennifer. She was one of our guild leaders for the education guild, and also was a previous alchemist. And yeah, very, very smart. And I love how she is always willing to give back to like the community and teach others. But Jennifer would love if you could actually give a little bit of a background on yourself and what to expect for this session. And for those who are alchemists, if there is part of a session that really stood out to you, or that you learned that you weren't familiar with, please take a screenshot and also share specifics to what you learned and stick it in the Fun Lounge or the raid channel that we have in order for you to qualify for some extra Coval or XP. But yes, you can definitely tag Jennifer. I'll add her handle on here. But yeah, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jackie. Yes, so I've known Jackie and Covalent and the Alchemist team for a few years now. I'm Jennifer. I'm currently a developer relations engineer at DFINITY, which is a major contributor to the Internet Computer or ICP blockchain. But when I first learned about Covalent, I was actually a founder of an NFT marketplace named Mintgate, and I was actually attending the ETH Global NFT hack when I stumbled upon Covalent's APIs and used them in a NFT project. Ended up using the APIs in production on my application. And yeah, I was really new to coding at the time, and I actually didn't know how to fetch an API. I learned how to fetch my first API through the hackathon, and I just found the community just so helpful. So that's why I continued on with the Alchemist program. After that, I got a front-end engineering role at a Web3 communications protocol. Took a break for a little bit, continued to do Web3 analytics through other DAOs and other communities. And now I'm at DFINITY. So I think that Covalent was a really big part of my coding journey and journey in Web3. So I'm actually really excited to give this presentation on Farcaster Frames. So in this presentation, I'll actually give a highlight of what is Farcaster. I'll show live like how I use Farcaster in ways that maybe you can as well. And then I'll talk about what is Farcaster Frames. And from there, I'll then give like a coding session on how to take Covalent's APIs and then use it within a Farcaster frame. So great. I will then start from here. I'll share my screen. So yes, can everyone now see my screen? Particularly, it should say Warpcast. Great. Awesome. I believe so. Okay, great. So Farcaster is a decentralized social media protocol. And they have a front end called Warpcast that you can interact with this protocol. You'll hear like the word Farcaster and Warpcast actually being used interchangeably, but it's important to know that Farcaster is the protocol, or I would say like the code behind the scenes of this like decentralized social media. And then Warpcast is kind of like the app that you actually use to interact with the protocol. And what's great about Farcaster is many people can create different applications on top of Farcaster. So Warpcast is probably the most popular one, but people have created many different applications on top of Farcaster. So in theory, you can also build your own Farcaster as well, like your own Warpcast or version as well. And how I use WordPress is, think of WordPress as, originally I thought of it as a Web3 Twitter, where you can, create tasks or posts. But I think like, because if it's the Web3 centric model, I think you can do a lot more things. So one thing, of course, that you can, create a task. Let me just create a cast that says, hello, everyone. I'm posting live in my Farcaster Frames workshop. And then I'll just actually, so I can actually choose which channel I broadcast this to. I think I'll just broadcast this to my followers, and no specific channel. And then what I said about channels, you can actually create like different channels where you can broadcast different posts or cast directly there. So for example, in this case, I created the ICP or Internet Computer channel where people can just post about anything about that like blockchain or in that area. So think of it this like almost like the Reddit portion of Warpcast. And there's like many other channels like DPIN, DevConnect, EVM. I think like there's even more fun ones like, for example, like fitness. You can follow them and then you can also like post to them. So that's one component of Farcaster is that's different from Twitter, as it also has this like almost community aspect, very similar to Reddit, where you could find posts and within categories or channels. Another port like difference with warp tasks is that there is this concept of warps, which are points that you can acquire to do different activities on the platform. So, for example, you can actually be rewarded warps for doing certain things. For example, because I'm a channel lead of the ICP channel, I think I get like 50 warps like per like 50 warps like per like week. And then oh great. Okay, let me see. Let me just stop sharing. It looks like some of you guys can't see my screen. So let me just try to share again. Okay, let me know if you guys can share. Can you guys see my screen right now? I'm just going through the Warpcast Um, okay, great. Awesome. Well, let me know if you guys run into any issues again. But yes, so this is the Warpcast. This is a Warpcast like app. And like I mentioned, for those that weren't using my screen, so one of the things that I did was I was able to post or cast on on the app, like very similar to Twitter or Threads. Some of the other key differences of is like this concept of channels where you can post your channel about a specific topic, very similar to Reddit. And then I was talking about the concept of warps. These are points that you can get for doing certain activities, and then you can use these points to do certain things. So for example, I get like 50 warps per week for leading the ICP channel. And then what I can do with these warps is, for example, it costs money or it costs warps to create a channel. So then I can create multiple channels. So some ideas I've had is like swimming. Maybe we could create an alchemist channel where alchemists could talk and just post about the things that they're doing. In addition, I can also buy warps, but there's no fun in that when it's more fun, of course, when you accumulate them based on your own merit. So yeah, so this is like, these are the idea of uh Warpcaster and Farcaster. There's many things that you could do. It's like very similar to, yeah, it's very similar to X. And also you can also invite other friends to join as well. I think in the United States, the access to Warpcast is permissionless, but in other countries, you do need to get invited by a friend. So if you do need an invite link, just let us know. All right. Awesome. So I think some people are still having trouble seeing my screen, while some do not. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I think the advice is some people can rejoin and come back in. So then what exactly is Farcaster Frame? So one power of Warpcast or Farcaster is that you can actually create more interactive posts. So when you're on Twitter or on Instagram or on Threads or whatever is your favorite traditional social media, you could probably post an image, you can post text, a link, maybe a video, and maybe that, right? So like if you want someone to interact with your content, they can maybe give you like a thumbs up, like a heart, or they can click on a link, and then there's usually within the platforms they give you a whole bunch of analytics on who has clicked on the link. But then like once they click on the external link, they'll have like you will have to kind of manage how they like the analytics behind how they're interacting with that link. So when the examples could be, the Alchemist program, posted about this but this workshop on their X, and then of course it could like if you wanted to sign up, you have to click on an external link. Like that's just one way on traditional social media you can actually have people interact with your posts. But Farcaster came up with this frames where you can actually build an application, like an interactive application, and actually turn it into a task or a post directly. So for example, here, one thing that here's an example of being able to mint an NFT directly into a post. So how they've built this application, they've deployed it, and we can then take a look at the code of this what makes up a Farcaster frame. But like for example, I can mint an NFT. I might not mint this, but just as an example. Some other thing, this is also another NFT that you can mint. Some other thing that you can do is you can actually just get information about your username. So for example, like I'm Jennifer Tran. Let me see here, if I enter, then what happens? I think like I can also like follow. You can create like a Farcaster frame to follow people. Another thing is you can actually play different games. Yeah, so people have created games where they can actually play directly into the post. So this is just a really great way to get people interacting more with your posts. And you can really sky is technically the limit, but then we can see like what are the technical limitations next. So next, I'll show you guys like how like the code breaks down. So now can you guys see, yeah, so now can you see like my Visual Studio code? You should see like a whole bunch of code here. Right, awesome, perfect. And then yeah, so how a Farcaster frame is consisted. So I'll break it down on like what actually builds up a Farcaster frame. So Farcaster, in order to build a Farcaster frame, you're gonna use these meta tags that will actually like these Farcaster frames are consisted of these meta tags, and Farcaster use this standard called Open Graph to then add these properties to just make sure like you're outlining, oh, this is a Farcaster frame. So to create a Farcaster frame, you'll need to create these meta tags on what you want to show. So for example, in this case, I want you at least need to show this FC frame content equals v next. That's like a default. And then I believe you also need to have like an image, at least like one image. So FC, so the property is FC colon frame colon image. And then you put the image URL. And also like you need to put at least one post URL. So this property FC colon frame colon post underscore URL. And then you'll put in the URL. I'll talk a little bit more about how this comes together, but the first concept is you need to create these meta tags and add in the properties of what you want to show. So in this, for example, I want to show like a button. So I have a button here, I have another button, I have an image, and I have this post URL. So that's the first component. And then the second component is you're going to need to create a server that then feeds these meta tags into the header. So when you're creating this application, like what ends up happening is like I remember I told you guys that I was I fetched my first API at Covalent. In this case, we're building APIs. So how it works is like don't think of it like building like a web application in the traditional sense where you kind of have this front end, this back end. In this case, no, everything will be handled within an API. So what they want you to do is they want you to create an API and then in the response, return these meta tags. So let's break it down. So in this case here, I'm creating an Express server. And then I'm creating this API. I'm creating this like this API, and then I'm returning these meta tags here. What I'm doing here is I'm just taking, hey, this template that I have, this general template that I have, and then like passing in like what I wanted to render. So in this case, I wanted to I'm requesting, I wanted like an image URL, a button text, and an API URL. So in this case, like these set of meta tags, you see is it's going to show a image, and here is the image. Let's just show button text here. This is the button text that I pretty much like want to show, and then here is another post. Here's just another URL. And I'll talk a little bit more about why this URL, but like in this case, this is the first iteration. This would be the first iteration of this frame. Okay, so this is like the first iteration of this frame. So in theory, what I can, if I so I created this this API per se. And then what I'll be able to do then is I'll see this image. I have these buttons, and then also you can see that I also have like another button within the frame. So that's like the first iteration. And then I want to talk a little bit more about like what like the overall composition. So actually, let's just get a demo of how this works. So you see like I have an image. One thing that I did added into the frame was I added a button that actually links to a Gold Rush app. So you can do, you know, something very similar to what you see in other is actually just, you know, adding a button that links to a Gold Rush application. Like that's like one use case. What I think is a better use case is, imagine if you could, you know, build like a Gold Rush application as like a Farcaster frame. I haven't tried that out really yet. I think it's a little, I actually tried it, but it's a little bit more complicated, but using the Covalent APIs is actually very simple. And so I'll give you a demo and how I was able to use the Covalent API. So in this case, this is a button where I'm just saying, hey, let's get our ETH token balance. So let me just click on this. And then just give it like, I think sometimes just gotta give it like let me just try it again. So sometimes you have to just give it a couple of tries, like what I've seen. But voila. So here in this case, practically I'm just getting a ETH balance from the Covalent APIs directly in this Farcaster frame. And let's just say, let me just also demo this on Farcaster. Let's just say like, okay, so I created this frame here. Let's just say like if I were to, I believe I should be able to, got it. So this is how it works. So once you have created the Farcaster frame, and I'll walk you through this, you can just post the link, similar post the link, and then just be able to and people be able to interact with this. So actually, if I were to just give this to everyone, everyone should be able to then just go on. If you do have Forecast, then you should be able to just, you know, interact with this post, like go to a Gold Rush application to and then you can also like get a token, ETH token balance as well. Awesome. And so let me just break this down a little bit more in the code. So after I've created the meta tags, like I mentioned, I need to create the API that, you know, renders these meta tags in the headers. So that's the first step. And then I would then need to deploy the APIs. So how I'm actually doing the deployment as I'm actually using ICP, I'm actually using the protocol that I in my work. I probably won't go through pretty much everything because I think that like I have a tutorial here that you guys can just kind of go through. But practically what we're so like there needs to be a couple of downloads. For example, I need to download DFX and Azle, and I need to create this actual project. But practically, what I did here is like once I have, you know, everything already created, I had to deploy the application or the APIs. So I deployed it on mainnet and then was able to get that URL link that I had shown. In this case, yeah, like this is an example of a URL, but like how you can actually create the URL is this ID .raw.icpo.io. There's other places that you can definitely deploy your application. Oh, I've seen other like other like ways to deploy as well. So you can use like other frameworks, but I'm just using ICP because it's like the easiest for me. And it also enables you to deploy like on-chain applications. So once you deploy the first step, you will see like if you were just to deploy this like this here, you would just see that static page where I practically had the static page here, like the very first page. So like that slash means, okay, like the very first, entry endpoint. And then you just be able to see this very first initial page. But then you might be thinking, okay, well, like what if okay, so this is great, maybe for a link tree, right? Like in this case, I am linking to a Code Rush application. Let's just say like if there was like, for example, a Covalent link tree, like we could create like a whole bunch of buttons that link people to like different Twitter, like to our Twitter, to our threads, YouTube channel, whatever. And that would be like the kind of simplest use case. But in this case, like I was then clicking on this button to get an ETH token balance. You might be thinking, okay, so how do I get to that step? And so that is why the post URL is actually really important. So when you create a Farcaster frame, the entry point is the first page that you see. But let's just say if you want to click on a button and then get to another page, how do you do that? So how you do that is then you create another API to do that. So in this case, so when you click on a button, the Farcaster frame is expecting to hear another page or API that it has to go to. And so when I write here, okay, this slash covalent, what I'm telling it is, please, like once, if any button is clicked, unless like I explicitly say, just go to this link, you should go to this API. Let's break this down a little bit more. So in this meta tag here, I have a button that has this button text. The button text I believe I passed in is get your ETH token balance. And here I don't say it to do anything. So what it does, it defaults to the whatever is assigned as a post underscore URL. And it's gonna automatically go to the next API. And next API is being called through the post underscore URL. This button is very specific in what I want it to do. Here, I'm pretty much just saying, hey, this button, get your wallet info. It's just a link to an app, to the Gold Rush Wallet Portfolio UI app. So this is very specific. It like goes to a specific URL. So if you want to create a button that does an action within the frame, you need to tell it, you need to like specify nothing and then like specify outside of it, like this post URL that it will go next to. Or you could, in theory, you can also specify the specific like post URL within this, but I pretty much did the default, and the default is, hey, this is the button, and hey, this is if I want to go to the next page, here's a post underscore URL of the API I want to go to next. So let's then break down, practically in this case here, what I'm telling it is get your ETH token balance. This is a button, and the default, I want it to go, if someone clicks on it, I want it to go to this slash Covalent API, and this is the slash Covalent API. So how this works is then practically I want it to render a token balance. In Farcaster, you should be able to get someone's user ID and then use their APIs to then get the user's wallet address. Just like due to time, I don't want to necessarily go through all of those aspects. Because yeah, that does have like a couple of steps to it. In this case, I just want to maybe show you how to get the covalent data and then just be able to render it. So in this case here, for those of you who have used a Covalent SDK, for example, you can also do the raw API itself. You're going to have to call the API, like the Covalent Unified API, as some sort of mechanism. So here, what I'm doing is I'm initiating the client, and then I just want to get the native token balance on ETH mainnet. So I'm passing in, this would be like in the reference code on the Covalent website if you get like an API key. But yeah, like this is an example where I'm getting the native token balance on ETH mainnet for this specific like wallet address. And then from there, I'm getting the ETH balance by going into data, getting the like there should just only return like one item and the balance. And then the balance, I think on Covalent, it returns it in WEEF, so I have to divide that by 18. And then yeah, so like that's practically how you would get the yes, like how you would get the API. So or the API result. So in this case, what I'm practically doing is saying, okay, after I click on that button, what I'm practically telling it is, hey, I would just hey, please show the ETH balance. So once I click on this button, it goes to this API, and practically now that button should change to your ETH balance is this ETH balance. And the that's practically like the flow that we're getting. So let's just see that again. You might not actually, this is I can also post this. I believe that there was requests to post some of the tutorials as well. So this is the tutorial on how to deploy. And this is a tool that I am using to actually verify what my Farcaster frame will look like. And so then now we'll be able to see this all in action. So like I mentioned, I deploy the Farcaster frame to pretty much have to this URL, and then you'll be able to also verify the meta tags that are available just to make sure, like I mentioned, like there's this default frame, there's an image, there is just my first button you see here, like this actually is a good example. Like my first button is get your ETH token balance, and the type, it's a post, so it's expecting to have like a corresponding post URL to like go to the next page or next frame, and this is a post URL, which is /covalent. And then yeah, there's another button that is actually more specific here, where it turns like it's not like a specific frame, just goes to another page. And this here is get your wallet info, and then it just goes to the Gold Rush wallet portfolio UI, and it's a link. So okay, so if I then actually click on this get your ETH token balance, you see here that it actually called the Covalent API and got this Ethereum token balance. So this is I believe I will then post this as a I'll also then post this as a link for you guys to actually see like the full like the app, like how to actually test a Farcaster frame. So that's practically all that you would need to do to create a Farcaster frame. Like I mentioned, like people have created many different many different types of frames. But with that, like maybe I can then just show you kind of more behind the scenes of like all the steps that are needed because I kind of browse through those steps. And yeah, and like what's actually really needed for you to deploy a Farcaster frame on chain. So the first step that I took was I have to download this thing called DFX, which is a command line interface for the Internet Computer SDK, which is actually built by DFINTIY. And then you must have seen that I was actually building the server in TypeScript. So there is a library that you can actually build like these smart contracts in TypeScript and JavaScript named Azel. So I had to install like Azel on my computer, which I've already did. If you do need, there might be like specific like machine requirements, which would require you to actually go to the like Azel book to go through. So for example, if you're using Ubuntu, then you might, or Mac, I mean, you have to just use download Podman. You're like suggested to use Node.js 20. Just for the sake of time, I think you can maybe go through these steps yourself and just make sure that you have all the requirements. And yeah, like for example, I had to go through these steps for my Mac. These are just additional steps. And then you would create an Azel project. And when you create an Azel project, let me just actually, maybe I just go through these initial, actually, I'll just build out these initial steps so you can kind of see, because we already kind of saw like the finished code, but let me just show you the like all the steps. In this case, then you can then do npx Azel, new maybe Farcaster Covalent. This will create a new project. And then you just go into that project. You can do this depending if you do have this already created, you can do code dot and then it should open up the VS Code. In this case, I haven't set that up yet. I actually had to wipe out my computer very recently, so I have to open this up manually. But practically, I've already like when I run those commands, I should then get this initial like this already Express server up already. So then I believe I have to do like an npm install to like just get rid of like these like, errors practically saying I haven't installed anything. And then the next is actually like creating the frame. Like I mentioned, the Farcaster creates these, like you need to use these meta tags in order to like create the frame. So that in a way that does kind of limit you. I mean, there are certain limitations that you might run into. You have to be a little bit more creative with how you're setting your meta tags. Like I mentioned, it's not the same as just building a front end application. For those who are a front end developer, just creating these meta tags might feel like it's like a kind of almost a limitation for you because like you're not used to creating this meta tag, creating like full on components. So that's something that you might have to get through. And then you have to set up your Express server. In this case, the server is already set up to you when you create that starter project. And then like the server, like the entry point, the get request, the first entry request like slash is kind of the first entry to your Farcaster frame. So I believe this example here I compiled is just a kind of just a link, kind of almost like a link tree. But this is like the final code. So let me just like actually uh I yeah, I can just copy this, or I can actually go through and deploy again. Okay, yes. So the first thing is I actually could, so I'm actually not gonna go through this like copy because I already have this one. Let's see here. I already have a covalent frame that I already created. And so in this case, so how to actually deploy locally, you can do a DFX deploy, and that should then deploy like a local version of the frame. The one challenge for deploying locally with the frame is like Farcaster Frame's tools don't actually like they don't have the ability to actually tests a frame locally. Their Farcaster validator does not actually allow you to test locally. Recently, Coinbase has set up a tool where you can actually test forecast like certain frames locally. However, I think I haven't been able to get it working like some people have, but I don't think no everyone has. So just FYI on that, that you will need to deploy this like on production in order to actually properly test. Like that's currently the downside. But you could in theory, so for example, you could in theory still see the meta tags that you have and kind of verify that it works. So let's just say, for example, this is how I actually tested when I first created this was how so the ID should be, so like when you actually get this returned, this link returned to you, it should be this ID dot localhost colon 4943. So then I should be able to so yeah, like so this is like what will trick up some front end developers is like, okay, you get like a big blank page, or like, why is there a blank page? Because you're actually returning the frame in a header, you're not going to see anything render here. Like if you navigate to the link, like that's why you have to use like Farcaster's tools to actually see what it might look like. But one other way that just confirm that look like is like you can see in the header here, like what you wanted to show. And this is just like one example, one way you could just verify without using the tools. And then, so the next part is now that we know, okay, localhost, like you might not be able to test things locally. Now you can then do a DFX deploy on production. So how you do this is like you do a DFX deploy dash -f network IC, and this actually deploys on it. And I believe so. I do need to pay gas to do this, and I don't think I have enough. So I'm not going to actually do it. But ultimately, I will show you when I did do this. Yeah, it's very similar to the commands that you saw, like in the command line, what you saw way of locally. And then it did show, yeah, it just practically showed like the live link of this. And so you just do, like I would show you, is you would just do the ID dot roles dot icp0.io, and then you'll be able to get your Farcaster frame. I think there's other questions. I think some of you guys still can't see my screen. Let me just stop sharing and let me just try again. Uh and also I will still give you guys all of these pages as well. All of these links as well. So apologies, it sounds like either yeah, some people can see my screen, some cannot. So hopefully I can also just create I'll send you all the links and just create like practically also like maybe the recording will be able to see my screen. You may see my screen there. So apologies for that. But practically, yeah, this is kind of the end. This is the end result. And there's other resources I think that would be super helpful for you guys while building frames. So this is an awesome frames page that practically like gives you all the resources on how to build frames, like many different examples, how people are doing it, and like also like different frameworks. And the next one, and then there's also like this documentation from Farcaster just outlining what I just mentioned. I kind of broke it down a little bit because when you first dive into it, like it might be very when we first dive into it, if you don't understand know about the Open Graph protocol and meta tags and how to render headers, I think it could be very confusing. Like I mentioned, when you do go to the link, you don't see anything. So you do need to use different tools as well as go into the console to be able to see like the headers. And so with that, I also wanted to give about 10 minutes for anyone to ask, any questions as well. It could be anything about Farcaster frames, or you can also ask about, how I use Farcaster, whatever you guys have questions on.
Yeah, if you have any questions, just drop it into the Q&A feature at the bottom that Zoom has, or you can just put them in the chat. Don't feel shy.
I like don't feel shy. I feel like the one thing I think we do need is like maybe like an Alchemist channel on Farcaster now, on Warpcast now.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, we do have oh no, not a channel exactly. I have to work on getting that up. I've been playing a little bit around with Farcaster to see how it's been. Created my own account as well.
great, great. I mean, oh, so you do have like a profile.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. I have to look more into it, but yes, I learned a lot from this workshop, so thank you so much. All
Yeah,
right.
no
Does
worries.
see
And
anybody?
also,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh
You can
yes, I was gonna say like if you want to do like cross posting on Farcaster as well as X, you can also use this tool called Yup. Um, Yeah, so it is a tool where you could connect to all of your socials, and then be able to cross post amongst them. So hey, yeah, you already are doing like the X like Alchemist program Twitter, like you know, why not just cross post that on Farcaster as well?
Yeah, we actually had two alchemists asked to see if cross-posting was possible, but I had forgotten the app that you had messaged. So I got the link and I'll add it onto the Notion page. Yeah, for alchemists that were asking, so this is recorded. It's also going to be available on Covalent's YouTube channel. And I'll add it under like the Notion workshop and recordings, along with all of the resources and links that Jennifer had sent, along with her Warpcaster account. Yeah, I think somebody asked, I think one of the alchemists had asked for for like the GitHub on, let's see, I'm trying to
Yes.
scroll through the questions. Whoop. Let's see if I can find it.
Yes, I can actually send this to GitHub after the call, and now I'll just send the link.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that would be great.
Mhm.
Okay, yes, Samuel said he asked for the GitHub. Okay, yeah, I'll put that into the Notion page as well. And then I'll work on doing just like a little recap of this workshop just to place it into the Alchemist announcements channel and the Twitter as well.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for the Happy International Women's Day.
Yeah, thanks so much for Happy International Women's Day.
Um, all right. So if there's not any questions, I guess we can end the workshop. But yeah, oh, Wisdom. We have one person raising their hand. Wisdom, did you want to type in your question into the chat? Okay, no hand raised anymore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think there was a question. So it's like,
Okay, we'll give you a bit just to put your question in.
mhm.
Well, you can watch the video after Wisdom. Um, and yeah, so because this is being recorded and it also has access to like I'll give you guys access to all the resources she sent. So no worries on thinking that you missed anything. All right, so I don't think there's any other questions. Is it okay to also place in the workshops and recording like the resources, how to get in contact with you if they have questions, like on Discord or oh yeah, well, I guess on Discord.
Yes. Yeah, yes, you can also just link yeah, you can also link here like my socials there.
Perfect. And yeah, she's also an Alchemist OG. So oh yeah, and you recently won being nominated to become an Alchemist OG. So congrats on that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. I'm
Oh,
hoping to do a lot more. Like hopefully also just let me know if you have any other ideas on like which kind of Farcaster frames that you guys want to build. I think that there's like a lot of opportunities that a lot of cool things that you can build.
yeah, I think so. I wonder if we can do like more advanced or like intermediate and more advanced workshops later. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, Jennifer, and for compiling like the presentation and showing us how to utilize part of like the Covalent API on the platform. But yeah, looking forward to sharing the recording with our team as well. Because I think they're starting or trying to get more involved on Farcaster too. But yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing weekend and you too, Jennifer.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Jackie, and thank you so much for everyone for attending.
All right, bye everybody.